I think it's such a great time to be a vampire lover right now. You know, we have Sinners, we had Interview with the Vampire, we had Nosferatu, if you're a fan of that. I personally really was. And that's only the big things that have been happening. And there's so many ways to do vampires. I think out of all the monsters and creatures that you can have, I think vampires are the coolest to explore because they're kind of the easiest to put in situations and make them have a lot of history, because obviously they've been around maybe for a very long time if they're really all vampires, and you can have someone who's been alive for 1,000 years put in a modern situation, and you can explore so many things through them relating to class and human condition and mortality and love. I think it's really cool. And we've had a lot of vampire exploration in lately. I feel we had the more dramatic telenovela type of exploration that was still really traumatizing and just a big eventful thing. In Interview with the Vampire, we had the gothic things happening in Nosferatu. Honestly, for me, it was perfect. I know a lot of people have been hating on Nosferatu, and that's your business. I saw it twice because I loved it. And we have things like Sinners, where you explore problems with racism, you explore how you have these different classes intersecting, you can look at the human condition and how people exist in society, and colonization. I think I loved Sinners. It was a big moment in time for me, and I'm still not over it. It's my number one of the year for a reason. But sometimes you need something a bit sillier, like you can just do serious, traumatic movies about deep shit all the time, At some point you just need something a bit more lightweight. And to me, that was Abigail last year. I saw it 3 times in cinema, I think. Probably all in the span of a week or two, because I really liked it. And that's what I mean when I think of what kind of movie would you just put on if you had your friends over hanging out and someone wanted to see a fun horror movie. Although the last time I was around my friends and we wanted to see a movie, it was my birthday, so I could choose, and I chose Evil Dead 2013. I am lucky that I have good friends, because I don't know. I don't know who else gets over that. But I think Abigail is a great choice when it comes to wanting to see a fun movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and something that is honestly really iconic. I love the fact that it's not that deep. I love the fact that it's not that deep, to be honest, because I would say that a lot of it is not, and not in a bad way. I think maybe my interpretation lacks depth as well, but I think the fact that it has just enough emotional depth to give us something to kind of latch on and connect to with our characters, and our main character especially. I think just having enough of that is what we needed without going really deep, especially considering the fact that for most of this movie we don't get a lot. And if you've seen the movie, you know that for our main character we get kind of trickled some things to emotionally connect to her. But for everyone else, even though we get to know a bit about each of them, I don't feel like we connect with them emotionally in that way, you know? I don't feel like we see them and it's like, oh, they really have to make it out to do something necessarily. That might sound callous. I think it's just the design of things. Obviously, you don't want any of them to die. That's not the point. But it's not, oh, they have this so many things, so many people counting on them and all of that. It's just a little bit of who they are. I mean, doesn't go deep into traumatic and emotional stuff. And I think that's the strength of the movie and why it's such a fun movie for what it is, because the point of it is to be a slasher and to have really cool stunts and to have really fun characters, especially in Abigail. I thought Abigail was a great character. She was so fun and her actress is amazing for how young she is. I think she was 14, I'm not sure, but she was really young. She's really young. And I think she's really going to be big in the genre because she was amazing playing this little girl who suddenly shows her real face. And I think it's really fun and, as I say, lightweight. You're not like, I like to compare movies and how much they made me completely traumatized. And you know, we saw Bring Her Back last week. That was big, you know, that kind of movie that leaves you an empty husk and makes you stare at the wall for 5 days. Abigail is definitely not that in any way. But honestly, watching this movie and rewatching it, because I think after seeing it in cinema those 3 times, I also saw it at home like 3 or 4 times. I saw it a bunch of times in total. But I think that even more than the chase scenes and the really big gory scenes and the blood everywhere and all of those really intense moments, I think my favorite parts were in the first half overall, because they have such great one-liners, such great sarcastic comments to each other, and seeing these characters interact, because as I said, they're not deep characters that are meant to explore traumas and deep topics and all of that. They're mostly each one of them is a type of character and a pretty two-dimensional character at that. Like, you know, you have someone who's the muscle guy who's a little bit dumb, but he's there because he's really strong and can contribute to that. You have someone really good with guns. You have someone who is the leader. He's like stoic and serious and, you know, cryptic. You have someone who is just having a lot of fun and is a bit of a sociopath, but he's having fun doing it. We have the hacker girl. Getting a bit into the spoiler territory, so, you know, if you haven't seen it so far, then, you know, maybe you want to go see it, and if you don't want to see it, then you can stay and I'm gonna talk spoilers with you. Obviously, the big thing that some people consider a spoiler because you take a little bit of time to figure it out in the movie is the fact that Abigail is a vampire. I've seen this point talked by people. Some of my favorite people who avoided, like Amanda the Jedi, avoided trailers, avoided everything, and went into it not knowing what was happening, and so she found out at the same time as the characters. And it's a bit into the movie, you know, because they kidnap her and they are at this remote location and things are happening. someone dies, and then they're trying to figure out what happened, and it's a little bit into the movie. I think like half an hour, something like that, when they finally realize, when she finally is like, okay, I'm done playing, and she shows her real face. And I think I'm actually on the side of, it's not a spoiler, it's kind of essential to the theme of the movie, and like the main thing in the movie, and the main attraction of the movie, if you will. The fact that she's basically a ballerina vampire. Honestly, that's all I knew going into it, that she is a ballerina vampire. And that's what got me interested in it, because I would have been a lot less interested if I just thought it was a band of kidnappers taking a little girl. If I didn't know that the horror element was a vampire, a ballerina vampire, going around and offing people, and it was just a heist movie basically, I wouldn't have been interested the way I was with this. So I think marketing it in the way they did is what they should do. And I think Swell Entertainment talked about this, that it's basically like some of the marketing that happens nowadays with musicals, hiding the fact that they're musicals. And I agree, honestly. The musical part is like, just tell me, because people who hate musicals are gonna hate it, and people who love musicals may go because it's a musical. And the same with this. If I heard it's a heist movie where they kidnap this girl and they try to get ransom, I would have been like, that sounds like an action movie. Like, sure, I like the actors, but I'm 50-50. When I heard that it's a movie about a little girl who's actually a ballerina vampire, I was extremely interested. I was like, oh my god, I have to see this as soon as possible. And it is a big reveal into the movie. You get this dramatic scene of all of them not knowing what to do and how to do things and how to get out of this situation. And she reveals herself, all of a sudden. And if you don't know anything, like, yeah, that's like, whoa, amazing. But I think it's interesting to me personally, knowing who she was. I was kind of waiting. I think it's interesting when you know more than the characters do, and so you kind of get to see them running around doing all of these things, and you're like, oh my god, you have no idea what you got yourself into. And also, again, that's not even the biggest thing. There's a lot bigger things coming your way after this. This is like, if you wanted to gasp at some point earlier into the movie. But yeah, I like the fact that they led with who Abigail was. Otherwise, I think it would have been a point retracted from it. And for me, maybe I wouldn't have gone to see it if I didn't know. And maybe later I heard from someone, I would watch a review and someone would be like, yeah, and she was a vampire. I was like, what? She was a vampire? Oh my god. Why didn't they say anything? So yeah, I think marketing it the way they did, and you've seen the poster. The poster is amazing, and that's what got me, because I remember seeing a bit. I don't remember if I saw the trailer in cinema. I think it was a short trailer, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I saw her, and I saw, the dress with blood and all of that, and it got me like this, it caught my attention immediately. And as I said, there's so much more happening, starting with once she reveals herself, we get the cat and mouse chase with them trying to escape and realizing that they can't, and they're locked in with this monster who's hunting them down, who's having fun, because the first confrontation scene, she is such a dramatic character. She is so good because she's so good because she gets one of them. She gets the guy who's having a lot of fun and being silly on this thing and, you know, smoking on the job. She gets him in the basement, and you get this horror scene that actually made me jump because it was in the dark and he got dragged so violently down the stairs. It's Angus Cloud's character, of course, he's the one to get picked off. And then Catherine Newton's character is the one to stumble upon him. And I love the fact that she put him back together. She sat him down at the table in the kitchen and put his head back on. So when Catherine's character stumbles upon him, she's like, oh my god, stop doing this. And when she pushes him, the head falls off. There was a lot, and it was very graphic. Yeah, she's obviously horrified, and then they start thinking what to do. They start thinking, okay, well, what happened? Who is this? And at some point, you know, they find out the fact that her father is this big crime boss, mafia guy who's really dangerous and powerful and has, you know, has been known to get rid of people. And that's like, oh, okay, well, you know, we have to give her back. And then they get trapped in the house and locked in. So once they discover that Abigail is a vampire, they try to take her down, they try to stake her, and she's having so much fun because she greets them with open arms. She puts on Swan Lake, gets all dolled up in her best, like, ballerina, what is it? She gets her best ballerina costume on. She's like all dolled up with the headpiece and everything, and she's dancing with Dean's dead body, with his dead decapitated body. And when they come in with the stake and everything, they're horrified, and she's like, oh no, don't, please don't hurt me. And she's continuing to act like a 12-year-old girl, as if she's not covered in her victim's blood. And it's hysterical. She toys with them, she pretends to get affected by things and then uses them. She stakes them back. She's amazing. And then she lets them walk off battered and bruised and stabbed because she's having so much fun toying with them. And she's like there in the corner smiling. It's like, haha, you know. And, you know, even when they eventually manage to catch her and, you know, they make her fall asleep with some remaining they had. And she wakes up in this cage, and, you know, she apparently brought them all together because they all had something to do with her father's business and they needed to be punished, and so she got them together to punish them. And, you know, she tells the story and she is trying to make them let her leave, and she's in this elevator shaft, and it's like, oh, she's trapped there because it's metal, and she's trying to negotiate with them to leave her, to let her leave. And at some point she's like, you know what, I'm bored, and just breaks out without, like, barely moving a muscle, and she's got this cage broken open. it's incredible. The way she's just toying with them and having so much fun doing it is incredible. But when we get to the part with the exploding and the possession and everything, like the fact that in this movie they don't just burn in the sun, you know, like in the Vampire Diaries, you get in the sun and you start burning and you kind of burst into flames, which is already pretty metal, you know. No, the sun hits her arm and she explodes, like her arm explodes, and you can just see the bone growing back. And then, you know, Catherine Newton's character, she is bit and possessed, and then Abigail takes her over, like mind control, and dances her around like a puppet. The full scene of her dancing with, you know, parallel shots of Abigail doing the same dance moves is so fun. It's like a long scene with music, and the dance is so fun and intricate. I loved it. And then she starts toying with them through her, and, you know, she ends up in the sunlight and her whole body explodes. And again, just like in Ready or Not, just blood everywhere. Yeah. But the coolest thing about, you know, the fact that Abigail being a vampire wasn't really a spoiler, it was just a premise, is the fact that she's not the only one we're gonna see, you know, not only with one of our characters, Sammy, who is Catherine Newton's character, who was possessed and taken over, but also once we only have 2 characters left, we find out that the guy who brought them there is actually working for Abigail, and he is also a vampire. And he's played by Giancarlo Esposito, which is so good. Like, he's so good at playing villains. Oh my god, I love every time he's on screen. I was like, oh, that's the bad guy. Okay. I knew there has to be something, but I wasn't thinking this far. I should have known. Yeah. It's really good, and he tries to like make a deal with one of them, with the ex-cop of them, and turns him into a vampire to take over, take on Abigail and beat her. But the ex-cop guy betrays Giancarlo Esposito and kills him. So now he's the only one, and Melissa's character has to survive. She's now officially the final girl who's trying to survive, and, you know, the potential final girl. Will she stay alive? And then the final scene is really cool, and the battle, because Abigail and Joey, Melissa's character, have to team up, and Joey left her son a message because, you know, she left her son when she got addicted to drugs in the army, and she wanted to go back to him, but now she seems like she's gonna get got. So she leaves him a really emotional message. You know, this is the part that we're meant to connect to. If everything else was a bit more surface level, especially with the other characters, with her we get a bit more, you know. She got addicted to drugs because she got hurt when she was in the army, and she was a medic. She ended up killing someone because she was on drugs and couldn't focus, and that someone was working for Abigail's dad, and that's why she's here. And you have a lot of emotion because she wants to go back to her son. She wants to be there for him after all of this time, and now you have a huge reason to root for her because you want her to succeed. You really want her to be able to go back to her kid. And it's a really cool scene. You know, you have them fighting really hard. You have Abigail, who's a vampire, doing these really cool stunts and everything, and it's really violent, and she gets killed like 2 or 3 times, but of course she's not. And then Joey gets hurt really bad. She gets impaled through the chest, and it's horrific. The fact that she survived is probably the plot armor. I don't know. But it's really cool, and they get him through the chest with this stick, and they survive. And it's really cool because you get this callback to Joey promising Abigail that she's gonna be safe back when she thought, oh, this is just a 12-year-old girl. And now, she kind of fulfilled her promise, even though Abigail tried to kill all of them so many times. And, she tries to leave, and then Abigail's dad comes back. He's this really imposing, old-timey sounding big bad vampire, but, you get him connecting with Abigail and realizing he hurt her by not being there and by being absent. And it seems like they're gonna reconnect as a family, and they let Joey walk off, and she's like, what the yeah, it's a really, really badass movie. Really cool, really fun. Nothing that, again, makes you sit down in the shower and stare at the wall for hours because you're so traumatized. It's just fun. It's just good. I'm trying to work on a list of movies that I want to watch through October, because I kind of want to do the 31 days of Halloween and just watch a movie every day. Just why not? I think I should be watching a horror movie every day regardless, but especially through October. So I'm probably gonna put that on the rewatch list, that and Terrifier. But yeah, I really loved Abigail. I love when movies are a bit silly and low stakes in terms of emotional impact, and a bit less. I love horror when it explores and when it goes really deep and hard-hitting. But sometimes you need a break from that, because if you just do hard-hitting deep horror, you're just gonna drive yourself insane. Like, I could not see movies like Talk to Me and Bring Her Back and Sinners and all of that all the time. I would actually lose my mind if I saw those kind of movies every time, because it's just too much for your psyche. So sometimes you need something a bit sillier, and I think that's just perfect. Yeah, that was Abigail. I don't remember, it was in my top 10. I don't remember where exactly. But have you seen this one, and did you like it? I still haven't seen Ready or Not, and I want it because, again, exploding people. So, and that's kind of next on the list, but it's a really long list, and I have to get to it eventually. If you've seen it, let me know. And hey, if you wanna hear me talk about anything in particular, also let me know, because I'm happy to do it. I have a long list of things to talk about. Have a good evening.